It's Vocalo Radio, Chicago's only NPR music station. I'm your host, Bekoe. The illest coming through your stereo, rocking out your worry-free Wednesday. It's Women's History Month, and most importantly, throughout the show, I told y'all I had a very special guest coming through. I mean, this lady here is one of the reasons that influenced me in my media career. She was there when I first started my media journey, and she's here now. She goes by the name of Briahna Gatlin of Swank PR. How are you doing, my sister?
I'm doing fine, my brother. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I see you over there looking all good.
You know, I had to look cute. Y'all got a new studio, you know. I had to make sure I, get right for the flicks.
I know that's right.
You know, and be right. But it's beautiful in here.
Thank you. Hey, shout out to CPM. They taking care of us. You know what I'm saying?
I love it.
Because you were at our previous studio, and
I was in the gym.
Yeah, you was right there at the corner chilling.
I was shooting in the gym with y'all.
Now, if I had flowers, I would give them to you. But I got some even better.
Really?
I got some even better.
Oh God.
I know you like cookies.
I do.
I told you I got you.
Oh,
I'm sorry it's a little crumbled up, okay?
See, he planned this and I did not know. And I really do like cookies.
Yeah, I'm sorry I crumbled it up. Please forgive me.
It's okay. Y'all, he gave me an insomnia cookie.
Yeah.
Which is great. I love cookies.
Oh, see?
Oh
see?
My
That's
gosh.
why I ain't got no flowers.
I got coffee too, so now I have cookies and coffee.
Don't dip it now.
No, not doing it.
Now, recently, Briahna, 312 Awards passed.
Yes.
And you won the Female Entrepreneur Award of the Year, man. Congrats on that.
Yay, I did. I was actually, I wasn't surprised. Let me explain why I wasn't surprised. I was, but I wasn't, because one, I'm so happy to see that there are so many entrepreneurs in the city that, were able to get their love as well. But I was surprised because I wasn't surprised because I've been doing it for so long. I was kind of like, it's about time, actually. And the one thing I will say that did kind of, once I sat down and thought about it, I was like, wow, I've never gotten an award for being an entrepreneur.
Mm.
And so I've gotten an award for being a publicist, for being in media. But then I started thinking I've never received an award for actually being an entrepreneur. And having your own business, running your own business, and really doing it the right way, it is the most difficult part of what I do. Mm. And so I had to rethink how I looked at the award, because being an entrepreneur in itself, and I pride myself in being an entrepreneur, but at the same time, there are so many layers to being an entrepreneur. So it was a bit of I got a little shell-shocked after I thought about it at the fact that I had never gotten an award for actually running my business versus being a publicist. So I had to kind of rewire my mind to really be like, oh my God, I got awarded for actually being a trailblazer in this space in my city. So I'm excited about it, and I was just like, wow, okay, this is different.
I'm happy to hear that it was gratifying for you, because you've been doing this thing for some years. You ain't no stranger to the industry. What 2 decades and counting?
I'm almost there. Yeah, I started at Columbia. Yay, Columbia College Chicago, of course. And I started in college, and it's been over 20. It's been close to 20 years.
And you still look young. You ain't got no gray hair.
I do have gray hair.
Well, you're covering it quite well.
Yes, it's covered, But but yeah, I've been in it for a minute. I've seen a lot happen in those.
We're going to get into that, too.
Yes,
we're going to get into some of the things that took place in these 20 years. But in general, what led you down the path of entrepreneurship in the first place?
Honestly, it happened by mistake. Okay. And this is actually a story that people don't know. So it happened by mistake. Again, telling my age, this is when Obama was in office. I remember a lot of people were getting laid off. Unemployment was really bad. I was a grant writer before I fully went into PR. So I got laid off pretty much. And I got laid off. I was a grant writer. Grant writers raise money for nonprofits. So, and I love that too. That's the crazy thing. I've always been a writer. So I went to school for writing. So I knew how to write grants. I knew how to write, all these different things. But I was looking for a job for about almost a year. and I never, ever, ever got one. Another story that's behind that is my mom was like, why don't you start your own business? And I was like, I don't want to do that. And she actually was the one who gave me the money to actually get incorporated.
Oh, shout out to the OG.
Yes, my mom was the one who gave me the money to incorporate my business. And, so she has been a champion for me in this space forever. And the other unique part about me being an entrepreneur is that it's actually in my blood. So things that I'm just dropping some things about my entrepreneur side, because we talk about PR all the time. But my great grandmother actually was an entrepreneur.
So it's in the blood.
So it's in the blood. But my entire family, they grew up on my mom's side, they grew up in Kosciuszko, Mississippi, which is where Oprah is from. My family actually babysat Oprah as well.
Oh, no.
And my great-grandmother was the first Black cosmetologist in Mississippi, licensed. And she ran her business. And my great uncles and my grandmother and all of them, they all had different businesses around that place. So Kosciuszko, Mississippi is where my family is from. And to this day, that's where the entrepreneurial spirit came from. And I found this out, obviously, later on. And then on the other end, my grandfather is the person who actually created the Harold's Chicken sign. Yes. And my other grandfather helped build a Sears Tower.
Just history. You have a historic family. Okay.
Yes.
So Gatlin needs to be in the history books. So, it already is, actually.
So Jackson is my mom's side. So my grandfather who built the Sears Tower is the Gatlin.
Man. Yeah. So it was destined for you. It was
destined. Yeah. And I had to, it took me a while to accept my journey as an entrepreneur. I'm not going to lie. Like, it took me a while. It was a totally different kind of acceptance versus, again, accepting that I was great at media. I love media. Entrepreneur, the journey of an entrepreneur is not easy. And everybody's always like, oh my God, you got money. No, I have money to make payroll. That's what I have money for. I have money to pay taxes. I have money to do things that an entrepreneur does. And so, but it took so long for me to get here, to get people to understand the quality of the product that I was delivering. And I think that was probably one of the most difficult things, living in a city where a lot of artists didn't understand PR at the time. They didn't understand how paying me would help them get to a point to making money and building their own capital and their own brand.
We talked a little bit about your background as far as like how you even started with writing grants. Of course, I've known you throughout your career as a publicist.
Yeah.
Under Swank PR. And Swank is not even like how did Swank even come up, the name in general?
Okay, so I had a business partner at the time. Of course, I don't have it anymore. But so when I decided to come up with the name Swank, I wasn't trying to. So most companies name the company after themselves, and I just think that is so vain and narcissistic. So I personally was like, I want to be like a Tide or a Procter & Gamble, where I want the name to speak for itself. People can know me as a person, but what if at some point I want to separate, my life? So I wanted it to represent just one, who I was, but also what type of work we did, but the cool, sexy way. And so I wanted it to be the female version of swag. So I looked up the female version of swag, and it was Swank. Because I got that. So
yeah, you got some swank on you.
I wanted to still be feminine, but also have that cool factor.
Then did your grandfather create the logo?
No. At the time, me and my business partner, we decided that would be great because I just didn't want to name anything after me. I wanted it to represent something genuine, something that people could really gravitate to, and something that people will always remember. So that's when I came up with Swank.
Swank PR. Man, I remember, like I said, the beginning of my media career, you reached out. Like like normally people would reach, you reached out.
Yeah.
And that was like literally one of the beginnings of my career, like going out to do interviews. I remember you did like a media junket at the Music Garage. That was like my first
Yes.
introduction to just meeting so many artists that
Mm-hmm.
you were doing, that you were PRing for.
Yeah.
I mean, since we on that, when it comes to clientele, you know what
Yes.
I'm saying? Who's some of your, I can't believe this is my client?
Well, I've worked with a lot of
Yeah.
different people on the PR end. So I would say, believe it or not, I've expanded past music, but let me start with music. I'll start with music. I've worked with Mos Def, G Herbo, who else? I got so many, y'all.
King Louis.
King Louis, Chance, Vic
Vic Mensa.
Mensa. He's gonna help me. Who else? Help me out, Bekoe.
I'm trying. The Boy Illinois.
Boy Illinois, Lupe.
Lupe, yeah.
We couldn't think of I mean, anybody that's GLC was probably is still one of my favorite people to this day.
Kanye.
Yes. So it's been a lot of people. And that's on the music side. Recently, I when I got a little further, I started working with Zenny, which also led me to working with the Chicago Bulls. So I did venture into sports. I worked with a few athletes as well. Just going into, a few years ago, I worked with Khalil Bell. He used to be one of the, I think, defensive ends for the Bears. I've done some stuff with Jerry Azuma. I've done, a lot on the end of, with the Bulls, Kobe White, and Zach LaVine, just on behalf of Zenny as well. I mean, I've done, and then I've ventured into brands, so
Yeah.
Foot Locker, And One, tech company I worked with, I can't think of the name right now, but it was a music app, and I got them in Bloomberg. That was one of my favorite things I ever done.
Okay.
I also worked with Ross Mack, who also is in finance.
Yeah. Wealth.
But then last year, I got a chance to work with Earn Your Leisure,
Yeah.
and I did the PR for their campaign when they came to Chicago. So that was also a really, really exciting thing to work on. So it's been great because I've been able to expand and just grow.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the main things that I was so excited about and achieving, is just venturing out. But my baby and how I became who I am is music.
Music, yeah. I mean, like you say, you still work with music clients, but
Yes.
you've so far expanded.
Yes.
Oh my God. Is them Zenny glasses you wearing right now?
No, these, I'm not going to tell you what
Yeah,
these
because
are.
we Zenny in it. I see.
Nah, these is a little more expensive than Zenny. But,
funny. Oh man, but before we get into this break, you've been a publicist for, like we said, for some years.
Yeah.
How much has changed since the beginning of your career? And then I want to add on that, in today's time, what do you feel is missing?
I would say the digital space has changed tremendously. When I started in PR, digital was not a huge space where you broke news. So now we talk about how we get news. We get news from social media first, and then you go to the sites to read further. If you do that, some people will get the story based on a media outlet putting a post up or tweeting it out. But I would say, I actually started loving the fact that when I realized PR and journalism changes, when I start being able to get news really fast. First platform that I would say, and I'll still say is number one for news traveling fast, is Twitter. You're always going to get Twitter first. It's easier to write something out versus posting a photo. Mm-hmm. And so I would say the digital space changed from back then. And then what was the other thing you asked me?
And I asked you, in today's time, what do you feel is missing?
What I feel is missing is authenticity. Everyone, wants to do PR, but PR is hard work. PR is having a creative mind. And I think people don't understand how important it is that you are creative in your art. So my art is PR, but the main thing is coming up with those strategies. Being able to figure out how to push your client from, distinguishing them from someone else. So, everybody can get placements. I can get a placement. I can know somebody at a publication. I can know somebody at a TV station or whatever. But how are you going to creatively brand your client? What works for them versus cookie cutter? And I think now there's so many cookie cutter PR people. There's so many cookie cutter artists, so many cookie cutter creative. Nobody really thinks outside of the box. And when they do, they think they thinking outside the box. And it's like, well, that was done 2 weeks ago, or you seen it on somebody else's page, or you stole it from a kid who doesn't have a better following. So I just think it's too much copycat, and I think it's no creativity. So I feel like the game has lost creativity and authenticity and that one-on-one contact, that hey, I want to go meet this person in person. DMing somebody versus actually feeling their energy and meeting them and connecting with them, that is lost.
We were talking about, some challenges. We were talking about like some things that took place in before time, when you first started PR, and some things that's missing. You said authenticity. We talked about your clientele, which is a whole Rolodex. You could just,
Yes.
my God. It's so many that you've missed.
I know. I always forget.
It's so many, though.
I freeze every time somebody asks me.
Because it's like when you work with so many people, yo.
You know who I remember, though, that I love so much? I got a chance to hang out with Roy Ayers.
Okay.
And it was amazing. But the funniest part of the story, I'm going to make it quick, is that I had booked him for an interview at WCIU. And at the time, this is when the Shrine was around and he was performing. Y'all, this man called me at 5 o'clock in the morning and said he was ready. The interview was at like 7. He called me directly and he said, hey, this is Roy Ayers. Yeah, I'm ready. So whenever you're ready to come pick me up, y'all, I'm laying in the bed like, hello.
You got
with
that
the sleepy voice. And he like, take your time. I'm like, I don't think that mean take my time. I think that mean get your butt up and come get me. So that was one of I would say my most memorable favorite moments of just what I do. It was great.
A timely man right there.
Yes, sir.
Now, being a woman in the publicist field,
Mm-hmm.
I got to ask you, what are some things you dealt with early on building Swank PR that frustrated you, that no longer gets to you?
I would say the competitiveness. I would say that's probably the number one part. I'll say this. When I first started, a lot of the women that were in PR did not like me. Probably still don't like me. Because I came in under the Hip Hop Act. I didn't come in under the, I didn't go to school specifically for PR. I went to school for journalism. So the one thing I had is that I knew how to tell a story. I knew what to do. So I had a lot of people shun me, not allow me to, have either opportunities or just invite me to things because I think they felt like I didn't, deserve them. Or I didn't take the same path that everybody took. So that was one of the main things I think that frustrated me at a time where I would question myself. And, I was dealing with imposter syndrome. But I would say what I started to do was realize that I had an advantage because nobody wanted to work in hip hop on the PR side. Nobody wanted to touch those rappers. And I was like, wait a minute, I got something. And so I was able to see the silver lining in the fact that nobody wanted to work with these rappers or these new up and coming artists, especially hip hop. And what I started doing was running towards that because I was already writing about it. I was in the culture. I grew up in hip hop. I knew it. So it was so organic and easy for me to kind of venture out. So I would say that was probably, even though it was frustrating, I took it and I pivoted to a different perspective. And I just ran with it. And it became, my thing. But I knew I wasn't gonna be able to just stay there because I was smarter than that. I'm a very open thinker in how I think. So I knew I was gonna expand, but that was, the basis. And hip hop is still like the basis of who I am.
You's a hip hop baby. I'm
Yes,
a hip hop baby. We some West Side babies at that.
Yes, sir.
And speaking of West Side, let's talk about this We Made event that's coming up on Friday the 29th?
Yes, so March 29th. So me and my mom, again, funny story about me and my mom. Me and my mom decided to do a brunch last year. And the way the conversation started was she calls me and she says, I want to do something with women called We Mad. I was like, what? And she wanted to do it for Black History Month. And I was like, no, ma'am. We are not doing anything that says we mad. And so the acronym for we mad at the time was Women of Excellence Making a Difference. I said, let's switch it up. Let's say we made. I said, women of excellence making a difference everywhere. I said that way it comes off a little more sexier because it's we made, not we mad. And we did this brunch and we honored all these women who don't get their flowers, or these unsung women who have been in the community doing the work and doing all these things for, 15 years, 10 years, 5 years, whatever it is. And we gave them awards and we wanted to honor them. And again, because there's all these women's brunches that happen, all these different events and things, and a lot of these women get overlooked. So, and I know how that feels. So I wanted to do something about it. And we came up with the idea for We Made. And so it is called We Made Honors Brunch. And we do it the last weekend of Women's History Month every year. And we do it at the conservatory. And it is amazing. We have brunch, we talk, we give out awards. And we just honor these women, and I love it, and I'm excited.
You say conservatory, that's Garfield Park, right?
Yes, sir, the West Side.
Just
yes,
have to let people know where it's at.
Yes, it is at the Garfield Park Conservatory, and it starts at 11 a.m., and it is going till 1:30. So we will be there celebrating women.
Is there a ticket link available?
Yes, it is on Event Noir, and it's called We Made Honors Brunch.
Speaking of West Side, as we get ready to cap things off, 2022. Purple Block Party was on the West Side.
Yes, it was.
You brought out Jim Jones.
I did.
West Side Collective Pivot Gang was there as well. And I got to know, briefly, will it return, Bree?
Yes, it will.
Okay, perfect.
It is returning.
Cool.
I'm working on it now. You are like the third person that asked me. I am working on it. Again, entrepreneur honesty, it wiped me out.
I bet. It's a lot.
I had, and bouncing back is one thing, but I was never planning on letting it slip. So I think, again, when you start thinking about financials and money and investment, it was an investment for me. So I'm going in for the kill again. Good.
I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there.
Oh, yeah, I know. You're going to be there front and center.
You already know. And lastly, as we cap things off, it's Women's History Month.
Yes.
So I got to ask you, is there any women past or present that's helped or inspired you to become the lady you are now?
There's a few. So I grew up just having mentors. Grew up in the church, had mentors in church, had mentors outside of church. There's one particular, she's still around, Louise Cutler. Louise was one of my art mentors, and I would go to the Park District and do art with her and do all these creative things with her on the West Side, of course. And it was Douglas Park. And I would go there after school. I was in high school, and I still have art that I made from back then. And then I would say there was another lady named Betty who I met when I went to D.C. She used to work for Big Tigger, and they flew me out to help, and she became my mentor. She's actually how I transitioned from journalism to PR. She passed away of cancer maybe a few years after that, and she had a twin sister, and they actually contacted me and told me. But Betty was one of those people who would just call me and check on me. She showed me how to kind of start shaping what I was doing, going from journalism to PR. And I had a lot of talks with her. And I would say my mom, but my mom has been my cheerleader more so in that space. So I would say those women, and then, yeah. And then even some younger women who have just inspired me to keep going. And I look at them as inspirations as well. So I've had a lot of young girls come through my doors on the work side, even young men. But I would say the youth are also, I try to learn from them too. So I would say they teach me a lot.
Look, you continuing to teach the industry a lot. It shows within your tenure. You've been here 2 decades and counting. That means you're doing something right.
I'm trying. I keep going.
Please do, because like I said, you helped introduce me into the media game. So I greatly appreciate you. I had to celebrate you. I didn't have flowers, but I brought a cookie.
Thank you.
Give out your social media. Let people know where they can find you.
Swank PR at SWANK PR. And then Briahna, my name is Briahna Gatlin. Briahna J, Briahna31. Swank PR, like I said, Swank Public Relations, Briahna Gatlin. You guys can find me. Instagram, Twitter. I'm on TikTok too. And yeah.